And the Oscar goes to Kathy Bates in Misery.
Hi, it's Brian. This is the awards contender, and welcome to my new series, which I'm calling Memorable Oscar Moments, in which I'm going to break down in very minute detail Oscar clips I believe are memorable. Now, some of these will be clips that I love, some of them will be clips that for some reason I hate. It can be infamous Oscar moments, baffling Oscar moments. It can be a moment from this year's ceremony, a moment from like 40 years ago. Like, this is about Oscar clips I find very interesting, and I thought the perfect one to start with today is one of my favorite acting Oscar wins of all time, Kathy Bates for Misery. As you probably know by now, I am a huge fan of the horror genre. These kinds of performances are usually not even recognized with nominations at the Academy Awards, and for Kathy Bates to win Best Actress for her incredible performance in Misery, it is still just one of my all-time favorite Oscar moments. So I'm going to annotate this 2.5-minute clip of her win at the 63rd Academy Awards on March 25th, 1991. Here we go.
The 5 women nominated for Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role are...
So Daniel Day-Lewis presents the Best Actress trophy at the 91 ceremony. He is presenting, of course, because he won Best Actor the year before for My Left Foot. Usually the Best Actor winner will then present the Best Actress winner the next year, and that's what Daniel Day-Lewis is doing here. He would do the same thing in 2014 when he presented Cate Blanchett with her Oscar for Blue Jasmine, a year after his Best Actor win for Lincoln. Oddly enough, though, he did not do this after his Best Actor win for There Will Be Blood. He won for that film in early 2008. And then at the 2009 ceremony, he is not there to present any of the Oscar trophies. Now, that was kind of a different Oscar ceremony. You had 5 previous Oscar winners come out and present the trophy. But Marion Cotillard, who had won for La Vie en Rose, she came out to present Best Actress to Kate Winslet. So I guess in Best Actor, which Sean Penn won that year for Milk, like the person to announce him as the winner should have been Daniel Day-Lewis. So I don't know why he wasn't there at the 2009 ceremony, but he is here in 91 to give Kathy Bates her Oscar.
Kathy Bates in Misery.
Now you might be wondering, did Kathy Bates have this Academy Award win for Misery in the bag? Pretty much. Like, this Best Actress lineup, as you'll see, isn't necessarily stacked with a ton of people who could have won. Kathy Bates won at least a couple critics' prizes. She won Best Actress from the Chicago Film Critics and the Dallas Film Critics. And then she also won Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama at the Golden Globe Awards. If you have not seen that clip, go check it out. I love what she says at the beginning of her speech.
I really didn't expect this. I got dressed up just in case, but...
So although I wouldn't say she had this Oscar win necessarily locked up, this was Misery's only nomination. Like, it didn't show up anywhere else. It's not in Screenplay. It's not in Best Actor for James Caan or Picture or anything. It's just in Actress. And that's always kind of a scary place to be. Like, if you're up against someone else in the category whose movie is in like Best Picture, Screenplay, some other categories, and you are your film's only nomination, like, that can be kind of dicey sometimes. But in this case, with Kathy Bates, she pulled through.
Angelica Houston in The Grifters.
All right, so Angelica Houston for The Grifters was Kathy Bates' biggest threat. Houston won more critics' prizes throughout the season. She won Best Actress from the Boston Film Critics, the Los Angeles Film Critics, and the National Society of Film Critics, who actually gave her Best Actress for both The Grifters and The Witches, which also came out in 1990. That's really cool. Houston also won Best Actress at the Film Independent Spirit Awards, and her movie got into 4 categories total, including Best Director for Stephen Frears and Best Supporting Actress for Annette Bening. So there was more support for The Grifters from the Academy overall, so there likely was some competition there. She was, as I said, the biggest threat. There was also Academy familiarity with Angelica Houston. She had won Best Supporting Actress in 1986 for Prizzi's Honor, and she had just been nominated for Best Supporting Actress the year before this in 1990 for Enemies: A Love Story. So I would say Houston is in second place here, and sadly, to date, this was her final Oscar nomination.
Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Oh, Julia with her blonde hair. So this was Julia Roberts' second Oscar nomination. She had been nominated the year before in the Supporting Actress category for Steel Magnolias. And then Pretty Woman came out at the very beginning of 1990, was a huge hit, like one of the big hits of the year. And her Oscar nomination looked pretty safe, like it was going to happen. But I don't think Roberts had a chance to win here because it was a comedy. It had come out at the very beginning of 1990. So I don't think she had a shot here, but it's a really cool nomination. Like when you look back at all the Best Actress nominees throughout the years, like the fact that Julia Roberts got in for Pretty Woman in the lead actress category at the Oscars is really cool. She, of course, has had 2 more Oscar nominations to date, Erin Brockovich in 2001, for which she was victorious on Oscar night in lead actress, and she was also nominated in Best Supporting Actress for August Osage County in 2014, losing to Lupita Nyong'o.
Meryl Streep in Postcards from the Edge.
This is Meryl Streep's 9th Oscar nomination. I do think it is notable in that it's the only time she was ever nominated at the Oscars and was not there. She is noticeably absent here because she was pregnant with her 4th child, Louisa Jacobson, who would be born in June of 91. Now, she did accept her Oscar trophy for Sophie's Choice in 1983 when she was visibly pregnant with her 2nd child, Mamie Gummer. So part of me wonders if Streep could have gone to this ceremony, but she probably knew she had no chance in hell of winning. So this was one she was like, yeah, you know what? I'm like 6 months pregnant. I'll sit this one out. But I really love that nomination for Postcards from the Edge. Shirley MacLaine should have gotten into Best Supporting Actress. Absolutely. I don't know what happened there. She got the Golden Globe nomination, but does not show up in the Supporting Actress category at the Oscars. Shirley MacLaine is dynamite in that movie. It's a really terrific film from director Mike Nichols and screenwriter Carrie Fisher. If you've not seen Postcards from the Edge, check it out.
Joanne Woodward in Mr. and Mrs. Bridge.
And then also noticeably not there is the 5th and final nominee for Best Actress, Joanne Woodward for Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. This was her 4th Oscar nomination. She won Best Actress on her first nomination for The 3 Faces of Eve in 1958. And she's always in the Best Actress category. She went on to be nominated for Rachel in 1969 and Summer Wishes, Winter Dreams in 1974. She is there for the first 3 nominations, obviously for her win, and then the next 2. She is not there for Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. I wonder if part of that was she knew she wasn't going to win, first of all. And then the second thing is that she co-stars with her then husband Paul Newman in that movie, and Paul Newman was not recognized with the Best Actor nomination. I do think if Newman had been nominated in Best Actor, they probably would have gone together, but because it's just her, maybe they decided to sit that one out, I don't know. But despite Kathy Bates really being the frontrunner here, what a fantastic category. I love all 5 of these performances and movies.
And the Oscar goes to Kathy Bates in Misery.
So I just have to say I really love her expression there. It's kind of like, oh shit, like I have to actually go up there. Like it doesn't seem to be like one of excitement or like, oh, I've been waiting for this moment. It's like, oh my God, like I have to get in front of all these people and give a speech. Like it's very human. Like it's a great reaction that Kathy Bates has. The man she's kissing there, his name is Tony Campisi. They married in 1991, the year of her Oscar win. They had been dating for 14 years. They were married for 6 years and were divorced in 1997. I love that she has this moment with Rob Reiner, the director of Misery. Like, what a run Rob Reiner had from 1984's This Is Spinal Tap to 1990's Misery. Just like one banger, great, classic movie after another, all in different genres too, which is so crazy. Like my favorite romantic comedy of all time is When Harry Met Sally from 1989. And then 1 year later, he follows that up with Misery. Like, pretty freaking awesome. Kathy Bates gives the only performance in a Rob Reiner film to go on to win an Academy Award. Rob Reiner, stunningly enough, has only been nominated for 1 Oscar, and it was for producing 1992's A Few Good Men. He did not get any nominations in the 80s, which is really crazy to me. Now, this moment of Kathy Bates kissing Anjelica Huston on the cheek is very interesting. One, because, as I said, Huston was her biggest threat to win Best Actress, but also because, if you didn't know, Anjelica Huston was offered the role of Annie Wilkes in Misery before Kathy Bates came on board. Anjelica Huston turned down Misery to make The Grifters instead, as she talked about on Andy Cohen.
Yeah, that is true.
Really?
I did turn down that part, but it was because I fell in love with the Grifters and wanted to do
Yes.
it passionately.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What a great part.
She won
Both
the
great
Academy
parts.
Award,
And
though,
she won
for
the
Misery.
Oscar that year.
For what movie?
For Misery.
Oh, for Misery.
And were you nominated for The Grifters against her?
I was nominated against her, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird to think. There was a time in history where Anjelica Huston could have taken on the role of Annie Wilkes in Misery. She chose not to. And then many months later, she's in the Shrine Civic Auditorium and she's up against Kathy Bates, who did take on that role of Annie Wilkes. Kathy Bates wins, beating her for The Grifters. Like, now this has probably happened in the history of the Academy Awards more than this one time, but I would think it's pretty rare to be nominated in a category and you lose to someone whose role had been offered to you first and you turned it down. That's kind of an interesting factoid about this moment. So there's Danny Glover clapping for Bates. He was not a nominee that night. Weirdly, Danny Glover has never been nominated for an Oscar, which surprises me. And then one interesting factoid about that is Danny Glover and Kathy Bates would play a couple in the 2016 movie Complete Unknown, starring Rachel Weisz. Now, sadly, the resolution isn't very good here. You can't really see who's in the audience. Like, who was all there at the 91 Oscars to see Kathy Bates take the gold trophy for Misery? But there are 2 people, if you zoom in the front row, watching her as she goes up to the stage. Michael Jackson and Madonna are seated next to each other. They attended the Oscars that year together. Madonna and Kathy Bates would both work on the same film in 1991, Woody Allen's Shadows and Fog, which came out in 1992. So I just have to say this, what is with the subdued nature of this audience? Why is Kathy Bates not getting a standing ovation for that amazing performance? These days at the Oscars, you get constant standing ovations for every Best Actor winner, Best Actress winner. Back in the 90s, you don't see it as much. Even when Al Pacino wins Best Actor for Scent of a Woman, they're just all kind of politely clapping for him for 15, 20 seconds, maybe longer. And then I think they recognize, holy shit, Al Pacino just won an Oscar after how many decades in the industry. So then they stand up and give him a standing ovation. When you look back at the acting Oscar wins in the 90s, standing ovations don't happen as often as they do today. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, you look out at the audience and everyone's just doing it's did none of you see Misery? Get up off your ass and give this woman a standing ovation. And there's Graham Greene, nominated that night in Best Supporting Actor for Dances with Wolves. He would lose to Joe Pesci for Goodfellas. And now he couldn't have worked with Kathy Bates too. Oh yeah, he did. In a movie directed by Rob Reiner, North, from 1994.
I'd like to thank the Academy. I've been waiting a long time to say that.
Now, this opening comment of her speech might strike some people as odd because for many, Kathy Bates' breakthrough in the movies was her performance in Misery. She had been in a few things here and there up to 1990, but this was the film that made people take notice. So when she says,
I've been waiting a long time to say that.
some could be like, well, what are you talking about? You're new. Like, you're a new actress. She wasn't a new actress. She had been in movies going all the way back to the 1970s. She had been on Broadway. She had been doing lots and lots and lots of theater for many years. Kathy Bates did not just come out of nowhere. She had been working on her craft for many years and just needed that one great movie role to get everybody's attention, and Annie Wilkes in Misery was the one.
I would like to congratulate all the nominees this evening, especially those in this category. Their work continues to humble and inspire me.
Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes this sentiment comes off as phony. It's like the required sentence you have to say in your speech. You know, I'm just so humbled by all the performances in this category. Like, sometimes it comes off not so great. It depends on the person. Like in this case, Bates seems pretty sincere. I mean, I guess you could have named the other 4 women. I always love when they start naming the other nominees in their category, and I'm always waiting, I don't know about you, for them to forget one. Like the way Kate Winslet forgot Angelina Jolie when she won Best Actress at the Golden Globes for Revolutionary Road.
Oh God, who's the other one? Oh, Angelina, I'm so...
So I think it's probably in your best interest to just be kind of more general about it and just be like, I am humbled by everybody in this category, and leave it at that.
I would like to thank everyone associated with Misery, Columbia Pictures, Castle Rock, Andy Scheinman, Rob Reiner, for giving me a chance.
Rob Reiner absolutely gave Kathy Bates a chance. Like, he could have gone with a name for the role of Annie Wilkes. Like, maybe Angelica Houston turned it down, but I'm sure if he had kept trying and going out to other kind of stars, like one person would have recognized how great the role is. Like, they would have taken it on with gusto. And for him to be like, no, I want kind of a known person to play Paul Sheldon, but I want to go with an unknown film actress to play Annie Wilkes. Like, that took some courage for Rob Reiner to do that. I'm sure there was some pushback. There were probably people in his inner circle like, you sure you want to go with this Kathy Bates for Annie Wilkes? And he was like, no, she's the best actress for the job. She is getting this role. And so, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Rob Reiner made that decision for Kathy Bates to come on board the project, and so it would make sense for Bates to say that in her speech.
I'd like to thank William Goldman for bringing the wonderful, crazy Annie Wilkes to the screen, and Stephen King for thinking of her in the first place.
So I have 2 comments about this Stephen King shout out. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the only time someone from the Oscar stage thanked Stephen King in their speech. I don't think that ever happened before or since. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know. But then also, thinking of her in the first place? Like, Stephen King didn't just think of Annie Wilkes, he created Annie Wilkes. He wrote this amazing book. Without the book, there wouldn't have been a movie. So I do think Kathy Bates could have worded that a little better. It kind of comes off as an afterthought, like, oh, and then also Stephen King, who thought of her in the first place. Like, no. Like, he created her, wrote the book, one of his finest books in his long literary career. Like, Stephen King's Misery is one of my favorite reads of all time, and what he brought to the world with Annie Wilkes just on the page was extraordinary.
I would like to thank Jimmy Kahn and apologize publicly for the ankles. And I would like to say that I really am your #1 fan, Jimmy.
I love that she acknowledges her co-star James Caan, first with that clever joke that the audience clearly seems to like, and then referencing a line from the movie. Like, the way that she brings James Caan into her speech is really lovely. I've said this before on the channel. I do think James Caan's performance in Misery is very underrated. I would have loved to have seen him get into Best Actor for that movie. Like, James Caan in Misery is not at her level because of the character, but he's also excellent in that film.
I would like to thank the cast and the crew of Misery. They're incredible. They were a pleasure to work with.
There is some behind-the-scenes footage of the making of Misery on the DVD and Blu-ray, and it does look like a really collaborative set. Barry Sonnenfeld was the cinematographer of Misery. This was his final film as cinematographer. He went on to become a director. His first film as director was 1991's The Addams Family, starring Angelica Houston.
And I would like to thank my friends watching from New York at the Sea Palace on 9th Avenue.
I would imagine some of those friends were theater actors. Kathy Bates spent many years on stage in New York. So some of those friends watching from the Sea Palace were probably fellow actors.
And I would like to thank my family, my friends, my mom at home, and my dad.
So Bates pauses there, has that brief emotional moment because her father, Langdon Doyle Bates, passed away in 1989, so that loss would have been pretty fresh in her mind. It's a very sad and human moment.
Who I hope is watching somewhere. I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much.
And that's where the clip ends, Rob Reiner applauding from his seat. In a video I made a few months ago, I called Kathy Bates' victory for Misery the #2 greatest acting Oscar win of all time. You might have it ranked a lot farther down, but I love this movie. It's one of my 10 favorite movies of all time, and she gives one of my favorite performances in cinema. She is on another level in this film. I am so happy she won the Best Actress Oscar in 1991 for Misery.
This isn't what happened last week. Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car.
Since that night, Kathy Bates has had a stunning career in film, in TV. She's had 3 Oscar nominations since. First in 1999 in the Best Supporting Actress category for Primary Colors. She lost to Judi Dench for Shakespeare in Love. The next nomination was in 2003 in the Best Supporting Actress category again for About Schmidt. She lost to Catherine Zeta-Jones for Chicago. And then her most recent nomination, also in Supporting Actress, was in 2020 for Richard Jewell. She lost that one to Laura Dern for Marriage Story. I do think Kathy Bates should have 5 Oscar nominations to date. One she wasn't even really in the conversation for back in 95, 96, which is kind of crazy to me. She is fantastic in 1995's Dolores Claiborne, also based on a Stephen King novel. It's one of her very best performances in film. I would have loved to have seen her get a nomination for that, but Dolores Claiborne, it came out early in the year, and it just did not hang on, sadly. But thankfully, the Academy recognized Kathy Bates where it really counted for her performance in Rob Reiner's Misery. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments below, what is another memorable Oscar moment you would love for me to explore in this new series? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.